600 feet long, 15,000 tons of steel, a crew of 140, and a radar cross-section smaller than a fishing boat. That is the Zumwalt-class destroyer. DDG-1000, the most expensive surface combatant ever built. $7.5 billion per ship. The Navy planned to build 32 of them. They built 3. Then they tried to hide the program. Not from the enemy, from Congress, from the American people, from anyone who might ask why $7 billion bought a ship that looked like a mistake. But here is the paradox that nobody talks about. The Zumwalt was not a failure. It was a floating laboratory. A stealth destroyer so advanced that it confused its own Navy's radar. A hull shape so radical that it deflected waves downward instead of back to the sender. A ship that was never meant to fight alone. It was meant to prove the technologies that would win the next war. And right now, those 3 failed destroyers are being converted into the most dangerous surface strike platforms in the fleet. Hypersonic missiles, global reach, invisible to radar. The ship the Navy tried to hide is becoming the ship the enemy cannot find. So why did the Navy build only 3 instead of 32? Why did they call it a disaster? And why are they quietly turning it into a weapon that can hit any target on Earth in under an hour? Subscribe to Beyond Fleets. We don't sell headlines. We go beyond them. Type Zumwalt in the comments if you believe failure sometimes builds the future. To understand the Zumwalt, you first have to understand what the Navy was trying to do. In the 1990s, the Pentagon looked at the future of naval warfare and saw 2 threats. Literal combat, fighting close to shore where big destroyers are vulnerable, and advanced air defenses, radar networks that could see conventional ships from hundreds of miles away. The answer was a ship that could get close without being seen. A ship that could bombard shore targets with precision artillery. A ship that was stealthy, powerful, and relatively cheap. That was the Zumwalt concept. The Navy wanted 32 of them, each one designed to replace the aging Spruance-class destroyers, each one carrying 2 advanced gun systems that could fire rocket-assisted projectiles 70 miles inland, each one with a radar cross-section of a small fishing boat despite being longer than a football field. Then reality arrived. The advanced gun system worked, but the specialized ammunition, the long-range land attack projectile, cost $800,000 per round. That is more expensive than a Tomahawk cruise missile. The gun became useless. The railgun that was supposed to be the next generation weapon never worked. The power systems were too complex, the software was buggy, and the price tag ballooned from $1.5 billion per ship to $7.5 billion. The Navy canceled the program after 3 hulls. The Zumwalt became the most expensive failure in modern naval history. That is the story you have heard. Here is the story you have not. The Zumwalt was never meant to be a mass-produced warship. That is not revisionist history. That is engineering reality. The technologies packed into the DDG-1000 were decades ahead of anything else in the fleet. The tumble-home hull, the composite deckhouse, the integrated power system, the stealth coatings. The Navy knew many of these technologies would fail or need refinement. But you cannot test a new hull shape in a computer simulation. You cannot validate a new radar in a laboratory. You have to build the ship and sail it into the ocean. The 3 Zumwalts are technology demonstrators. Floating laboratories. Every lesson learned from their failures is being poured directly into the next destroyer class, the DDG-X. The stealth hull X will use a refined version. The integrated power system to power lasers. The electric drive, the DDG-X will use it to save fuel and increase range. The Zumwalt did not fail. It succeeded at being a test bed. The Navy just forgot to tell the taxpayers that was the plan. Now, let us talk about what makes this ship invisible. The tumble-home hull. Most warships have a flared hull that slopes outward as it rises. That shape reflects radar waves back toward the sender, like a mirror. The Zumwalt's hull slopes inward. It is an inverted pyramid. Radar waves hit the side of the ship and deflect downward into the water. The water absorbs the energy. Very little returns to the enemy radar. Run the math. A typical Arleigh Burke destroyer has a radar cross-section of roughly 10,000 square meters. A fishing boat has a cross-section of about 100 square meters. The Zumwalt, despite being 600 feet long and 15,000 tons, has a radar cross-section smaller than 50 square meters. That is not stealth. That is a ghost. But here is the stealth paradox. The Zumwalt is so stealthy that it confuses friendly radar systems too. Documented incidents exist where other U.S. Navy ships briefly misidentified a Zumwalt as an unknown contact, a potential enemy vessel. The ship's own identification friend or B system had to be specially calibrated so the rest of the fleet would not shoot at it. That is not a design flaw. That is a measure of how extreme the stealth engineering became. The honest caveat is this. The Zumwalt sacrificed many things for stealth. It has limited anti-air capability. Its vertical launch system carries only 80 cells, fewer than an Arleigh Burke. Its gun system is useless without ammunition that was never procured. It is not a general-purpose destroyer. It never was supposed to be. It was designed for one mission, stealthy land attack, and that mission changed. So what is the Zumwalt doing now? The Navy is converting all 3 ships to carry the conventional prompt strike hypersonic missile. The CPS is a glide vehicle launched from a rocket booster. It reaches the edge of space, then glides at Mach 5 or more toward its target. Range is classified, but open source estimates place it above 1,700 nautical miles. From a Zumwalt in the Pacific, that means it can strike targets deep inside China. From the Atlantic, it can strike anywhere in Europe or Russia, and it does so with a flight time measured in minutes, not hours. The conversion is not simple. The Zumwalt's advanced gun systems are being removed. In their place, engineers are installing hypersonic missile launch tubes. The integrated power system that was so problematic during development is now an advantage. It can handle the massive electrical loads required to support the missile's guidance and launch systems. By 2026, all 3 Zumwalts are expected to be operational with CPS. They will be the only surface ships in the fleet capable of launching hypersonic strikes, and they will be invisible while doing it. Now, look at what this means for 2026 and beyond. The lessons from Zumwalt are not being thrown away. They are being weaponized. The DDG-KX next-generation destroyer will feature a stealth hull derived directly from the Zumwalt's tumble-home design. It will use an integrated power system that can direct energy to lasers, railguns, or propulsion as needed. It will carry hypersonic missiles from the start. And it will cost less than half of what Zumwalt cost, because the Navy already paid the research and development bill. The Zumwalt failed as a mass-produced warship, but it succeeded as a blueprint. The technologies that seemed impossible in 2010 are now standard. The lessons that cost $7 billion are now saving the Navy billions more on the DDG-X. The ship the Navy tried to hide is now the ship that built the future. So, return to the question that started this video. Why did the Navy build only 3 Zumwalts instead of 32? Because the mission changed, because the railgun failed, because the ammunition cost more than a cruise missile, but also because the Navy realized that the real value of the Zumwalt was not in fighting, it was in learning. 32 ships would have bankrupted the fleet. 3 ships taught the Navy everything it needed to know. The Zumwalt was never a failure. It was a $7 billion tuition payment, and the next destroyer class is graduating with honors. If this breakdown changed how you see the most expensive failure in naval history, subscribe to Beyond Fleets. We don't sell headlines, we go beyond them. The invisible destroyer is still invisible, but now it is armed with hypersonics, and the enemy has no idea where it is. Type Zumwalt in the comments if you believe failure is just unfinished success.